It's often useful to store related values together in a single variable. To do so, you create an array which is similar to a list. Let's indulge my passion for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and create an array for some of the main characters. You store an array in an ordinary variable, followed by the assignment operator and array with a pair of parentheses, and you put the values that you want to store in the array between the parentheses as a comma-separated list. I'm going to store strings, so in quotes, Arthur Dent, and the commas go outside of the quotes. Ford Prefect and Zaphod Beeblebrox. So we now have an array containing 3 elements, all stored in the variable called characters. You can't use echo with an array. Let's just see what happens if you try. Save that and view it in the browser. And it just tells us it's an array, which is not very helpful. The way that you inspect the contents of an array is to use a PHP function called printr. Let's just comment that out. And then print _r, and inside the parentheses the name of the array that you want to inspect. So if we refresh the browser, here we've got the array elements, and each one has a number which is called its index. So 0 is Arthur Dent, 1 is Ford Prefect, and 2 is Zaphod Beeblebrox. It's important to note that arrays in PHP and in many other programming languages begin from the index 0. To access an array element, you add the array index inside a pair of square brackets after the variable name. So if we want to display the second element in the array, we'll use echo, then the array name, and the array index goes inside the square brackets. So for the second array element, the index is 1. Just save that and refresh the browser, and there we are. It's displaying the second array element. To add more elements to an existing array, you use an empty pair of square brackets after the variable name and assign the value directly. So let's just add a couple more square brackets after characters, and we'll add Marvin, and then we'll also add the creator of the Norwegian fjords, who was strangely reluctant to reveal his name to Arthur Dent. I wonder why. Slarty Bartfast. So now we've got 5 elements in the array. Let's inspect it by running printr again. Comment that out, save it. And what's happened is that the new elements have been added to the array and assigned the next available numbers. Because each number is known as the index, this type of array is normally known as an indexed array. PHP has another type of array called an associative array. Instead of using a numeric index, each array element is stored as a key value pair. So let's create an associative array for descriptions from the Hitchhiker's Guide. You start with a variable as before, and then the assignment operator, array, and the key value pairs go between the parentheses as before. First the key, which must be a string. So we'll have Earth, and the assignment operator is an equal sign followed immediately by a greater than sign, so it looks rather like a double arrow, and then the value. mostly harmless. And then a comma. We'll add another one. Very often when I create associative arrays, I use a lot of white space and put them one on top of each other so they're much easier to read. Don't need to do this, but it's good for readability. So we'll have the second key, Marvin, and his description. The paranoid android. You can also add new elements to an associative array after it's been created in the same way as for an indexed array, except that you put the key between the square brackets. So let's have another one, descriptions, and then we'll put the key as a string, will be Zaphod. And then you assign the value in the ordinary way. It's important to note that you can't use an associative array element directly inside a double-quoted string. Let's just see what happens if I try to do that. So, echo, Earth is described as, and then descriptions, and the key is Earth, closing quote, and semicolon. You can see that my script editor is signaling that there's a syntax error, but I want to show you what will happen if you try to load this into a browser. So I'll just save that, refresh the browser, and we've got this long and complicated message, error message, which tells us that, oh, you can't do that. So how do you get around this? Well, the simple answer is that you wrap the associative array element in a pair of curly braces. As soon as I do that, the syntax error goes away. And let's just comment out this prinr line here, save and refresh the browser. And now we know that Earth is described as mostly harmless. Arrays are an important part of PHP and you'll use them a lot. In this lesson you learned how to create both indexed and associative arrays and inspect their contents with prinr. Indexed arrays use numbers to identify each array element, and it's important to remember that the numbers begin at 0. You also learned that you need to enclose associative array elements in curly braces if you want to include them in a double-quoted string.